Cool.
Hey guys, we are live on YouTube and I'm about to host MTOP with me. There we go. Hey,
That was literally instant.
yeah. So
Hello.
just updating did it for you?
Yeah, and it was like a 2.5 second update, so I just needed to refresh Chrome.
Oh wow.
How nice.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Do you have really good internet?
I do, yes. Quite good.
That'll do it. Well, we are live now. And with me today, I have HarmonyWon from MTOP. And I'm really excited to have you on the show today. I haven't done one of these in a very long time, and I figured what better person to have on the show than the leader of a bunch of degens. So,
Yeah.
thank you
We
so much for coming on the show today. If you would just go ahead and introduce yourself, introduce your team, and introduce what you're building.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, my name is David, in real life, and, I go by, HarmonyWon, WON instead of Harmony ONE. I started, in DeFi about almost a year and a half ago, and, no, 2 years ago at this point, on HarmonyOne. Traded over the last 2 years there and built a strong network of friends and project leaders over the last year. And then basically, day trading is a little stressful. So I wanted to step away from that and basically solve a lot of the issues I found when I myself was trading on DeFi. Because as we know, it's a very new, immature space, kind of like the internet when it first began. It's there's a lot of room for improvement, especially in DeFi, and so we set out to build a unique product. We released about a month ago, and I can share my screen if you want to, which kind of best illustrates our minimum viable product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me share this window real quick.
That kind of goes into like the first question that I was going to ask you, like what problem does your project solve? And I think it's best if we just show people what it is that you guys are building.
Yeah, exactly. So here's you can see this
Yeah.
play?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So essentially this is just on Harmony One, right? So you have over 40 EVM chains now, but we released our minimum viable product on Harmony One. And what it allows people to do is instead of going to all these different websites, FoxSwap, FuzzSwap, LootSwap, MokiSwap, OpenSwap, SonicSwap, DeFi Kingdoms, and navigating to the trading pages, we're allowing people to add multiple on one screen. So you can have two DeFi Kingdoms, one Fuzz Swap, a Sonic Swap if you want, and trade the coins right there, all in one screen, as opposed to going to many different many different URLs and websites at once. One of the biggest issues I had was finding out which dexes are even available on a given ecosystem, and two, it just takes up so much time to navigate to um, different tokens. If you're holding Jewel and you're holding Knight, which is a game on Harmony One, you're holding Fuzz and you're holding Sonic. Previously, you have to open all these different tabs and track them that way. And I was like minimizing 4 different windows and like making them fit on a screen so I
Yeah.
could track. But with our product, you can kind of trade them all on one screen. And yeah, so essentially that's the basic premise. Basically making it easier for people to trade and see everything that's available, track their portfolio, and even arbitrate side by side, find best price, best liquidity. Yeah, that's the very basic product, though.
You're basically creating an ARB bot for the people. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the only way to combat bots is to make another bot, right?
right.
But at the very best we can do, and we're not for that. I personally I don't like I don't like that idea, and it's fine that people do it, but yeah, we're trying to turn people into the best bot they can be in human form, right?
Right.
Um,
Like,
and to add, you asked me about the team earlier.
yeah.
So I want to briefly, basically just introduce. There's 13 of us. There are 9 mods and 5. Uh, sorry, 14 including me. 5 people on the board. And these are people I met over the past 2 years. They're all leaders in their own right. They all took initiative to help out this project for the last, God, like 6 months, 8 months now. Most of them purely based off passion. They have their own jobs. Almost everyone has a job outside of this. But the end goal, right, is to make this their job. Over the next year, we plan on expanding beyond our minimum viable that I just showed, and they're all going to be on board. Our turnover is 0.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's been a great experience so far.
That's pretty incredible, and it just shows like how much you guys care about the grassroots movement.
Yeah, I don't even like doing giveaways that much because, as some of you
Yeah.
may know, it just brings on hundreds, if not thousands, of bots to Twitter and Discord, and just kind of floods it with not real people.
Yeah.
And we've been building a real organic grassroots, community for the last 6 months now, successfully.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I've had people countless times tell me, "Hey, you need to run giveaways. You need to do this and that." And I'm like, I kind of want like a real audience and a real community backing what it is that I'm building here. So I love that. Um, to to
Yeah, it's incentives.
to go back to the like your presentation showing off your platform there a little bit. I just want to like give a quick example of like how I could have been using that personally, like over the past 6 months, because I have been going on to Viper Swap every single day and claiming my Viper, and then selling it on Viper Swap, sending the one to DeFi Kingdoms where I trade it for Matic, and then also at the same time I'm going and claiming my Trank rewards each day on Tranquil Finance and selling that for one, and then sending that to DeFi Kingdoms where I trade it for Matic and then go to any swap and or multi-chain, whatever it's called now, whichever one is correct. Uh,
Multi-chain, yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then
I don't even know actually.
sending it over to Polygon. And
Hmm.
honestly, it's kind of a pain, like the biggest pain. And your product actually solves my issue with having to go to each one of these separate places, whereas I could do it all in one place.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's one of many uses. You can, eventually, like I mentioned, this is minimum viable product. It's the worst it will ever be, right? And people have even come up with some creative uses, like if you, I'll share my screen again here real briefly.
Great. Yeah.
So if you want to, you can see it, right?
Yeah.
If you want to avoid a sandwich bot, for instance, you can swap one and then the next right after each other, and it kind of um, avoids being sandwiched. We've tested this a lot, and somebody brought this up to me, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting use case, and it kind of goes to show that like people, it's an entirely new way to think about DeFi, to be honest. And eventually, the plan is to be on all 40 EVM chains, or there's 43 on Dex Screener right now,
Dang.
most of which I haven't even heard about. But so yeah, so that's another use, and you can pull up all the dexes that one ETH is on, and you can compare your outputs of HarmonyWon on each. And the last thing I'll show is that this is limitless, so you can have way more than 6. It starts to lag out at about 100, which I don't know why you would. And in the
Okay.
future, I see better ways of managing tons of these. Like maybe you can group some into a group and kind of like minimize them. And it's only going to get better from here. So this is just the beginning. But like it's the use case you mentioned is so much easier to go to Viper Swap and go to Tranquil Finance right here and swap out your Viper and Trank just right here, as opposed to bookmarking all these things and all that. So it's just much simpler way to trade, and I think people will find new use cases as time goes on.
Miguel said, "Will you go multi-chain tomorrow, please?"
you know, that's funny about. So as some of you may know, Harmony got hacked for $100 million, and their entire ecosystem essentially collapsed. I had a moment. I was like, I am not going to let this project die at the hands of something we could not control. So to our team and some core team who may be listening to this may remember, I kind of freaked out and I said, oh, we gotta move right now. We have to move. We have to move now. And they're like, whoa, 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 chill, chill, chill. Like
Yeah.
let's continue building. And I'm glad we did, because we have a lot of work to do upon our minimum viable. We want to make it easy for people to arbitrate. We want to make it easy for people to pull up all the dexes that, like I mentioned, 1 ETH or 1 Bitcoin or whatever is on. And right now we're about a month out from that. So yes, we will, but not tomorrow. I want to make sure the product is a little bit more polished and finished before we let everybody use it.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of look at Harmony right now with its such low liquidity as like a testing ground for
Correct.
like going multi-chain eventually. So
hmm
I kind of love that idea. I think you guys are doing it the right way.
I mean, it makes me anxious. Don't get me wrong. I want to add it all tomorrow. And we actually built everything with cross chain in mind. So it will literally only take us about a week to add Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, Avalanche, everything.
Yeah.
Um, but and it will be a free to use product at that point. But the Harmony version is under a subscription model, which we'll discuss. But yeah, I mean, the market isn't going anywhere in the next few months. So I think it's important to take our time and scale appropriately. To Miguel, I will say, come November, we'll be on a lot more chains. So only about 2 months away.
Yeah. And I think you just kind of like you did a beautiful transition into what my next question was going to be for you. What are your thoughts on the current market conditions, and how does that play into your business model?
Yeah, great question. So when we started this, when I had the idea of simply saying, why isn't there more than one swap on any DEX? Like, it's always just one swap, even though they might aggregate for you, but they still present the information on one A to B swap, right? Instead of having as many as you want, ideally. Um, the We were in a raging bull market. There were tons of tokens to trade. Things were popping off left and right, as you guys know. Um, that has simmered down naturally, just like in 2018 and 2019 and early 2020 even. It was cool downs are necessary. The current market downturn, I don't think is over. I do suspect we'll see 12 to $14,000 Bitcoin, maybe worse. At the end of the day, everybody's guessing, but considering the macroeconomic factors between war and supply chain that largely come from lingering COVID restrictions still offshore, and of course inflation and a whole host of other macroeconomic factors that are poor right now, I just don't see blockchain entering another bull run until, I mean, likely closer to the 2024 Bitcoin halving, right?
Yeah.
So with us hovering around $19,000 right now, not to be overly bearish, and I could be wrong here, I do think we'll see another leg or two down. But people should see that as an opportunity. The less people see this market as simply buy low, sell high, flip for a profit, and the more they see what's being built on it and using the products on it, the better off the space will be. And that's why bear markets are actually great. They purge like Celsius and many other protocols that just offered unsustainable benefits to their users. It purges those from the ecosystems, and Although people do lose money, and that's very sad. And Luna is another great example. Just algorithmic stable coins. Now we know, probably not going to work. A lot of hacks and such happening. So now we know to diversify. A lot of projects who are simply just farming or yield projects are failing right now. So now we know maybe let's build some actual real life utility, or trading utility in our case. So it's those types of things that I see as an actual real silver lining on a bear market. And selfishly, we have a few months until we polish our product to a state that's ready for all chains. So I selfishly hope I'm right there. So
Yeah.
that might be a little biased talking, right? So
Yeah. I I tend to agree with your sentiment. I'm not going to make speculation on what Bitcoin is going to do in the near future or in the
mhm,
long run. I think that eventually everything is going to be okay in the cryptocurrency market. That's what I've
absolutely.
seen, and I've been through 3 cycles now in the crypto market.
Jeez.
So um it always works itself out, but the the real thing here is that a lot of people, and your platform is definitely going to be able to help with this, is that if people recognize that we are in this bear market, that the trend is going to continue downward for a while, um the main thing that I would like to tell people is that now, or as it goes further down, is the best time to build wealth, um,
Correct.
and also to build. You guys are continuing building. Um, you guys were able to earmark funds to maintain your your production throughout this bear market, and it shows what projects, what products have done a good job of building a strong business model that continue to build like you guys have been doing. So I think that that is a strong testament to your team and what you guys are actually accomplishing.
Yeah, great points. I got a few things to say to that. I mean, yeah, I mean, even if this bear market lasts 5 years, which people do need to be prepared for, it could be years. It might not just be, oh, 14K and then we're off to the races, right? We'll crab at the bottom for quite some time. The last cycle was about 4 years for the bear. The one before that was actually shorter. So does that mean this one's going to be more than 4 years? Will that trend continue? Right. We have to be prepared for that. And I'm not saying that's going to be the case. Again, it's just guessing. But just being prepared for it is great. We're going to be here as long as it takes. Right.
Yeah.
The hardest time to buy is the best time to buy. Typically, anyone wishing they got cheap Bitcoin, like now's your chance to begin DCAing responsibly and expecting it to go down more. I'm not saying it will again, but if it does, don't be upset. Just continue DCAing. It's the best way to create wealth long term. The last thing I'll mention is you've probably seen this because you've been in 3 cycles now. But the last bear, there it was a ghost town. There were not that many people talking to each other on Discord or Twitter or YouTube like this. There was hardly anybody, in fact. And now here we are, a year in, and you've got tens of thousands of people spending time networking and building on a daily basis. That trend is very important, right? Like looking at where it is compared to the last bear market to this one is almost irrefutable proof that we're going to be fine in the long run, in my mind, because like there's so many more people now than last time.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about your project specifically. Um, can you go ahead and explain to us your NFT subscription model? Because not many people are doing this yet. In fact, I think you guys were the first ones to implement it on Harmony. So tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. Personally, I was striving to find, I should say, we were striving to find better utilities for NFTs beyond JPEGs or characters in a game, which is just very, very common, right? Pretty much 99.9% of it is that. And that's fine. There's definitely a market for it. And if some NFT collections are doing just fine, actually, even now in this bear market. So they've definitely some of those collections have proven their value. However, we wanted to find a different utility for them. We're using them as proof of ownership. So essentially, you're able to use our aggregator for free for a week, just like a week free trial. And we wanted to make it just like an Adobe Illustrator subscription or a Netflix subscription. You pay monthly to use the software because it's fairly unique. I would say it's very unique. No one else is offering this really on any protocol. But essentially, you mint an NFT, and that NFT has a timestamp on it, and a custom Web2 plugin reads that timestamp. And after 30 days, or 90 days, or 360 days, those are our three options. You mint another one. So it's basically a subscription, and that NFT isn't a fancy picture. You can still send it and sell it if you want to, but it's basically, it grants you access to the software itself. And at minimum viable product, it might be hard to see this, but it's very scalable in the future as we add things like price charts. Just like Trader Joe has price charts right next to the trading module, we'll eventually have that for all of our modules. And we're going to add safety features and a whole host of things we can discuss. But the idea is we're going to be building features for years. And again, this is the most simple product you'll ever see it, like today, basically. And over time, that'll build value for subscriptions. Now I will mention that the NFT subscriptions are only on Harmony. When we add all the dexes on Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain and Avalanche and Polygon, we are going to initially make it free to use forever and not have NFT subscriptions. But we will charge a transaction fee just like most dexes do. With the data on which ecosystems are using our product the most, we will then migrate NFT subscriptions one by one over, one at a time, because it takes time and money to do that. And if we want to scale cross-chain quickly and have the data to say, hey, which ecosystems like our product more or use it more or less, we can then scale the NFT subscriptions beyond Harmony one at a time after that.
That's awesome, man. And honestly, I love the idea of using NFTs for that subscription model, because if let's say somebody wants to get out of the crypto trading game, and then somebody else wants to seize the opportunity of scooping up an NFT at a cheaper price than what is being sold on your project, they have that opportunity to do so. And then
Sure.
I'm assuming you guys get royalties for those resells.
Actually, no, we don't.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's hmm,
Yeah, I know. Well, the subscriptions themselves cost, right?
right.
And it's recurring revenue. And on top of that, we'll have transaction fees eventually too. So we have multiple ways. I mean, we could even monetize in like a B2B sense and white label our front end UI, or just options abound. Price API, because we're gonna build our price charts from scratch. So people will be able to pull feeds from us eventually, and this is months in the future, right? This isn't tomorrow or next
So you
week.
guys are gonna do something similar to like Dex Screener or Crypto
Mhm.
Watch.
Yeah, it's gonna be a much simpler version, but kind of more like Trader Joe. Again, like that's
Okay.
that's definitely what I took inspiration from on the price charts, at least. Simple stuff will have very basic TA tools. Deck Screener and TradingView will still be more comprehensive, but the idea is, again, when I was trading bunches of tokens a year ago, all these new pairs would pop up, or a new project I would discover would appear, and naturally I would go to Deck Screener or somewhere. Before Deck Screener existed, the analytics page or whatever on the token lists, those very archaic charts, I think you may remember those on
Yeah.
ViperSwap and others.
Yeah.
It was just really hard to check the price, and again, just more tabs, right? The idea here is we want to create something not only completely unique, but something that people don't know that they need even until they use it.
Yeah.
And I won't be able to say that in its truest sense until we're finished, which is months out, right? But Yeah, so essentially, we'll be doing what Deck Screener does, but a more simpler chart, because you'll be able to have many loaded on one screen. So it can't have all the functionality, or it could, but we're going to start simple and then build out from there.
You should
So you're
definitely
going to
look at Crypto Watch because they
watch.
also have like small charts. Um,
Mm-hmm. Edit now.
yeah, they also have small charts that you're talking about, like that allow you to load more than one at a time.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, even Deck Screener has multi chart
do
technically
they?
right now. They do. Yeah, it's a small little button.
I didn't know that.
Um, in the upper right hand corner, it says multi charts, and you can add multiple.
Okay.
But it's a little clunky and difficult to use, and it's not very customizable. But it's there.
So Kraken, the exchange, actually bought out Crypto Watch, I think, and made the UI just so much better. Um,
Hmm.
well, they integrated Crypto Watch's UI into their exchange actually, and made their own UI better because of Crypto Watch. So I'm a big fan of that. I think Kraken is probably one of my favorite US exchanges, just because the founder is so much for like personal freedom and privacy. Um,
Hmm.
he's a huge proponent of like what Bitcoin stands for, that original libertarian movement. But um, yeah,
I'm a libertarian at heart as well. They just don't win anything, but yeah.
yeah,
From a policy standpoint, yes.
yeah. So with your current platform,
Mhm.
how many concurrent viewers do you currently have?
Over 30 days, we have 126 users, I think. And on Harmony, I'm actually quite proud of that, to be honest.
That's
There's only
amazing.
a few hundred users left on Harmony, and
Yeah,
there's nothing to
yeah,
trade except Jewel and a few others. And we have currently, gosh, I think 42 subscribers. So yeah, I'm happy with that. And some of that will be recurring revenue. So a lot of that is our community we've built is very, for now, it's very tight knit, very grassroots as mentioned. But yeah, considering we're on Harmony and projects are leaving left and right, and again, projects will come and fill their place if Harmony does continue. I know
sure.
you may feel differently about that personally, right, because of your experience with them. But if Harmony does survive, any project leaving is simply an opportunity for somebody else building.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And honestly, I think like my personal feelings about Harmony have simmered down quite a bit. I don't have any hard feelings towards anybody, or no malice or anything like that. I just
Hmm.
think that moving forward, they definitely need to change some things up if they want to continue on. But I don't necessarily think that they're dead in the water. I think that if
Hmm.
they do make some valuable changes to both their marketing strategies, their communication with their projects, and really focusing on things that are important to other crypto users, they have a shot. They really
Yeah,
do.
I mean, um, so far we've seen a few people get put in place on their Twitter that are more active. Globy,
Yeah,
Globy1. He's great, honestly. He
he's a
he
good
does a
dude.
really good job communicating with people, even in DMs. We have a few people on their grant team that are also very communicative and follow up. So we're seeing the winds of change, but again, it needs to be a sustained change, and we need to see it continue for quite some time, which at this point I'm unsure of. But they've funded over, I think, almost like $1 million worth of projects in the last month.
Really?
So we've tracked. They've funded us and about 8 or 9 others. So the grant program is moving again. You have some people leaving, of course, and going to Findora, which is another great privacy focused up and coming chain. And you have some who stayed, and some more will surely go, right? But for each one who leaves, if they do intend on being long term, I think they're going to replace them with hopefully hopefully people with similar skill sets to the people who left, and hopefully continue on the small amount of momentum that they currently have, but momentum nonetheless, because I mean, pretty much anything would have been better than what we had. Seeing these is very promising. And regardless, we plan on growing up beyond Harmony, but never leaving Harmony, of course. If Harmony does recover, we're going to be in a very, very good position because we've been here the whole time. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your goals for expansion. Like what are some of your marketing strategies that you plan on taking? Because you guys are very grassroots, but there has to be some ideas in mind that you have for actually going out and marketing your product to others that aren't in your local community.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great point because a lot of people in ecosystems tend to stay in their bubble, right?
Yep.
On Twitter, Discord, etc. It's very easy to do that, right? It's much harder to put yourself in an uncomfortable position and open yourself up to people who are going to say, "Oh, this sucks," or like, "Oh, why would I use this?" or whatever. So on that note, it does help that our product is very unique, and I think we're going to first of all target ecosystems with a lot to trade because that's what we aim to solve. Binance Smart Chain being probably the top. It's got tons of projects. It has more users than Ethereum on a daily basis, or so they claim, right?
Huh.
And and I think that's largely because of gas fees too.
Yeah.
But the ecosystems we choose to expand to, first of all, we'll be careful. So we're gonna focus on Binance Smart Chain, etc., Ethereum, and the groundwork for marketing and networking with people is already being laid right now. So we've done, I think, 75 AMAs over the past 3 months, 7-5,
That's
and
amazing.
yeah, and it's been a lot of work, and that really helped us a lot. So we're gonna expand that and continue that, probably multiple a day, but that's not enough. Uh, I I have been networking personally on Twitter Spaces, which is sounds silly, but it's actually a great way for projects from like Kronos and even Doge Chain project leaders. I've met some of them. They come in, they hop in, they talk, and you talk to them, and via voice. You connect after, you reach out to them in DMs, you kind of connect in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you even do an AMA with them. We've done probably 10 or 15 AMAs with Avalanche projects because they have a very similar to community to Harmony. But basically, continuing to network, continuing to learn and play off people's strengths and weaknesses, and essentially keeping in touch with those people over time so that when we do expand, we're able to say, hey, can you put our project in front of a few project leaders, meet their communities, whether it be in Discord or Twitter. And finally, I would say in real life conferences, crypto conferences, blockchain focused conferences are something I'm going to personally go to, and I think a few in our core team will as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, between all of that and it being a product that is entirely unique and provides a unique value proposition. I think there will be a tipping point at some point, right? Which happens to most projects, and that tipping point will be friends sharing with friends and not having to do as much of the groundwork eventually, maybe a year or two from now. I expect everything I just mentioned to take, months,
Yeah.
not, all right, let's do a bunch of AMAs this week and hope everyone just comes, right? No, it's like a long process. And between that, a unique product and targeting the right chains and user bases, we're going to be super focused on increasing the number of daily active users. So that's my current plan.
Yeah, you kind of like touched on another question that I wanted to ask you later on, but I'll just transition to that. Um, you come from a traditional industry background, and
Mhm.
now you're building in Web3. What has your experience been like co-marketing and you do all these AMAs and Twitter spaces with other projects. How likely is it to get other people on board with what you guys are building and say, "Hey, let's sit down and have a conversation about your project and about our project." Are people really willing to do that? And what is the difference between like the Web 2 industry and the Web 3 industry that you've noticed so far?
A great question. So first of all, a lot of products already have, even though we're not even on Avalanche, for instance, we have projects like Ego Versus and NFT vending machine, and God, there's 7 or 8 others that I can't list off the top of my head right now, but they've been willing to sit down with us despite us not having a product on Avalanche yet, right? And naturally, some of their community are like when Avalanche, Um, in terms of the differences, I mean, there's a lot of similarities. I mean, your network is your net worth, right? They say, and honestly, the core concepts of networking, as cheesy as they sound, they're very similar in the traditional business world than they are here in Web 3. I mean, we're still the same people building the same types of things. A lot of, if not everybody, who's interacting with one another are they all came from the same world we did, right? So the same basic principles of networking are the same. Persistence and following up and communicating and learning from each other, and maybe learning something that you don't know about, but being able to teach something that they don't know about as much. Um, the biggest difference, there's a few. I mean, everyone's obsessed with profile pictures, and not many people use names, right? So that would be something I would like to see change. Is more people just not doxing necessarily, but using names, right? Because sometimes we forget that people are more than their silly usernames and profile pictures, but they're real people,
Yeah.
with real faces and voices. And it's important that we have real conversations with them beyond just text and online, but voice and video, and actually maybe integrating projects somehow in some meaningful way. Um, there was a study once I forget which, but basically the basic premise was that online relationships tend to form much quicker than um, in real life relationships,
I believe that.
and they also tend to burn down much quicker
Yeah.
than
Yep.
in real life relationships. So it's important to keep that in mind. I mean, that's obviously a big difference in the space. It's international time zones all over the place. It's another key difference. There are no borders, which I love. Um, and yeah, you just have to be careful. A lot more careful, because there's a lot of people who are trying to be loud and big, and everyone knows everything. It seems like, right?
Yeah.
So approaching networking in Web 3 with caution, but also trying to be bold at the same time, and remembering that taking it slow and getting to know people is probably a good way to go about it. A lot of people just rush stuff, and that doesn't lead to anything great. Or they'll do a event with them and then forget about it afterwards, and then never talk again. It's uh, a new world. It's a whole new world, but in the same ways, it's the same as it ever was, digitally, at least. And finally, I guess, since it's so unregulated, it's you don't want to align yourself with potentially malicious project, because that can hurt your image.
For
So
sure.
you have to be careful and do your due diligence as well on who you're talking to, and not just open arm accept everybody. Trust but verify. Classic.
That is a very important thing to share with other project creators that are thinking about building. Um,
Hmm.
you really do have to be careful about the people that you align yourself with, because it if you do align yourself with the wrong project that ends up rugging its investors, then that paints a bad picture on you, and you never
Does.
want that to happen.
Yeah, and a lot of either hard rugs or soft rugs especially, are hard to spot.
Yeah.
I mean, soft rugs can take years. They're the hardest to spot, I would say, and the most dangerous as well.
Would you call Viper a soft rug?
Oh no, I don't want to go on the record on this. It's hard to tell. I mean, it sure seems like it. It sure does seem like it. I don't know. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's all conjecture, but and I don't want to slander people who probably worked hard. I'm not sure, but they released WAGME and they released Viper, and WAGME failed miserably. A lot of people lost a lot of money. I mean, should have seen it coming, to be honest, with
Yeah.
the whole 333 thing. But it's hard to say. Good question. I mean, I would say it certainly smells and feels and tastes like one. Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Dude, I'll say it. I think that the creator OX Viper walked away with a shitload of money, and nobody else did.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so
It was a disaster.
yeah, that kind of. I mean, I had a ton of Viper locked, like a ton, that at one point was worth uh, a lot of money. Um,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then yesterday, when I went to trade what was left of it, it was about $150.
Oh man, if you had that much at this price, it must have been a lot at peak. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I had
Um,
I did.
and you know what irked me is that after years of people following them and losing money and them likely cashing out on their community, they have the nerve to go on their Discord and say DeFi is dead on her. They unilaterally declared DeFi dead, which is basically a great excuse to just button up shop and call it a day. That he's gotten enough.
Right,
And he just declared that DeFi was dead on Harmony and was never coming back. He used those words, never. Which he might be right, but I don't like to use superlatives, especially the word never. It's like
right.
never, nothing will save it. It'll never come back. Like, I mean, come on, dude.
I
That's what
honestly
kind of
think
tipped me off.
I
But
think the dude is just lazy. If I'm being completely honest, if you look
yeah.
at their logo, they were a multi-million-dollar DeFi exchange at one point. Like they reached into the hundreds of millions, I think, at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And then they never updated their logo with that shitty snake logo. Like, really? You have all of this
Mhm.
funding and you can't even update your logo to something more professional. And then on top of that, their UI was just always this standard shit pile that
Forked.
yeah, and I don't know. The dude just seemed lazy to me. I don't think that he put in a lot of work to do what he did, if I'm being completely honest. Any
Probably
Solidity
not.
dev could have done what he did. Any Solidity dev.
He just forked stuff. I mean, what was even different about it? It offered no real utility besides printing a token that people were just supposed to buy forever for whatever reason.
I will say that he was the first one to bring DeFi to Harmony in
Sure.
in a legit way. But
Mhm. Mhm.
if your legacy that you're leaving is that you're walking away with tons of people's money and they're all losing out, then
Mhm.
does it really matter that you were the first?
No, it doesn't. And if anything, that could mean he saw it as a great prime opportunity to exploit people by being the first. Just because you're the first doesn't mean you're legit by any means.
Right.
If anything, it's the opposite, right? It should be under more scrutiny. Yeah, scrutiny, and yeah, just given the events of the last year and a half, I would say it was likely malicious to begin with. I mean, do we even know the guy's name?
No, nobody
Yeah,
does.
yeah. So he probably made millions of dollars off the backs of people. And now he just is like, oh, DeFi's dead forever. I'm out. And he'll probably take a year off or just move on to something else under a completely different name and nobody will ever know.
Yep. And that is the unfortunate thing about privacy, but at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I I always have to go back to telling myself that privacy is important regardless of whether you're a good or a bad actor. Privacy
Mhm.
should always be there to protect us against people that want to control us. Um,
Mhm.
and so people that are shouting at the top of their lungs that, oh, all of these people need to be doxxed, I completely disagree with that. Um,
Yeah, I disagree with that too. I mean, it's a slippery slope, right? You have to be very careful with that, especially with looming regulation. People are afraid to do it, not only for safety concerns, But regulatory concerns, not that that means people should hide what they're making from their governments. I'm not
Right.
advocating that.
Right.
But when it comes to money, people get very angsty sometimes. Even if it might not be your fault, something goes wrong, or if you align yourself with a project that does rug, accidentally, you might get blamed for that. And if you have a family or kids, you might be putting them at risk.
Yeah.
Um, some crazy people.
So the White House actually published a report today talking a lot about cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, and um, illicit activity with crypto.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because you and I were discussing it personally earlier. And I think both of us kind of stand in the same spot on this specific subject when it comes to uh, what rights citizens should have. Um, but I just want to ask your opinion and let everybody else hear it on what your thoughts are on the report itself, and do you believe that the government is in the right, or do you believe that they're overreaching?
Definitely overreaching, which we could have guessed with 99% accuracy, right?
Yeah,
Didn't take, especially this administration in particular. I'll seal my lips on that one. But yeah, I mean, I haven't had a time to deep dive into it because it just came out this morning. But I think it will take years to implement. First of all, so there's no reason to be super afraid all of a sudden, right? B we have to reach out to our legislators and lawmakers and let them know where we stand and that there's a very large um, percentage of Americans and people outside of the US that love the blockchain how it is.
yeah,
And see, I would say that I think regulation in some sense is good because big money is probably waiting for it to be a little bit more safe to come in. And countless projects, as we all know, have rugged over the past 5 or 6 years. Viper is just one of them, and literally countless. And there's hardly any accountability for these people. They barely ever get caught. There's hardly any ways to stop them from doing more. So in some regards, we do need some regulation and crackdown of people who have confirmed committed liquidity fraud, just like wire fraud. Um, but of course, they're overstepping their bounds. Trying to shut exchanges and jail traders is not going to be the way it is. And the last thing I'll say on this, well, two things is a they say crypto is used for fraud, but of course it is. Anything that's worth anything is used for fraud, especially the king U.S. dollar. I mean, more crime has been committed with the U.S. dollar than any other currency combined times 50, including Bitcoin
yeah,
over the years. And so that's a silly argument. But a lot of these times, White House or administration will release an initial bill, and it's usually extreme, right? And then as lawmakers pass it, it kind of moves over to something a little bit more reasonable. So something like putting people in jail for trading on unregulated exchanges or unlicensed exchanges, I don't think we'll see that reality. That's a bit much. I mean, because if you can't trade on an exchange, then how are we going to pay our taxes? First of all, somebody smartly pointed out in our community. But yeah, so I
that's a
think we'll see a middle
great
ground.
point. I love that.
So there's lots of holes in it. It just came out this morning. It'll take years. It'll be a lot less harsh as this initial version is. I think I understand why they did it. Like they do this on purpose because they know it'll compromise and meet in the middle. But can't say we didn't see this coming. So
Yeah,
it's,
I think my favorite part was whenever they like brought in the argument of weapons of mass destruction. Like
yeah,
crypto was used to fund terrorist groups, terrorist organizations, and weapons of mass destruction. It's like,
yeah,
did we not learn our lesson after September 11th,
yeah,
2001? Like, we
yeah.
can't just use that argument to defend going to war. Like,
Yeah, it's not a good argument. I'm surprised they took that route. It's actually a very unwise argument in a number of ways. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, cartels in Mexico use the US dollar, right?
right,
For
right.
hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars over the decades. Way more than the total crypto market cap, and that's just Mexico, you know. So it's
Yes,
like, and that's just the last 10 years, not even going back 100 or 150, God forbid. So silly argument. Um,
very silly.
Anything worth anything can fund something bad, right?
Yeah,
But it's a matter of you know, what people attribute to it. That's all money is. Hell, even gold is just a shiny rock. I mean, it's what people attribute to things and how they use them that makes them worth anything at all. And when something is worth something, bad people will come in and try to ruin it for the rest of us.
yeah. Maybe we should also ban being waiters and waitresses as well,
Yeah.
because a lot of them don't claim all of their tips in cash.
Yeah. Probably billions a year. Yeah, just in the United States. Also, if you were a criminal, technically funneling and laundering your money through a public ledger would be less safe than
Absolutely.
using the US dollar. You know, so there's just a million arguments you can
Yeah,
make
I
against
mean,
it. People will.
look at the couple that got caught for what was it, the Q coin hack, like back
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
from
Like a few months
7 years,
ago.
5 years ago or something, whenever they hacked Q
Hmm.
coin.
We're
Um,
gonna see more of that too.
and then Ross Ulbright has been in jail for years now for creating Silk Road. He got caught because Bitcoin is absolutely traceable. Um,
Yeah, Silk Road. I just watched a documentary on that actually, but yeah, it was an interesting website. There were a lot of insiders in his organization too, but
oh, absolutely.
he actually ended up getting caught because in an initial post when he was first forming it, he used his full email
Yep,
in a forum post.
yep.
That one mistake screwed him,
But
and he got life in prison. So
Yeah, but whenever they found him, they were able to trace all of these Bitcoin transactions back to his wallet address because they had access to his laptop.
yeah, oh, I see what you mean. So they could go through years of all the money he's made and really put a dollar amount on it.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
And
That one forum post screwed him.
because of that, he's going to serve 2 life sentences.
Yeah, I mean he'll be in jail for the rest of his life. I get what he was trying to do, but that's not the way to do it.
Yeah. I
I mean, a true libertarian in some ways, right? But
yeah. No, I think that what he was doing, I don't want to get too political, but
yeah, yeah,
um I
it was
will
right and wrong.
yeah. So that kind of I want to share this with the audience. Like, um, maybe you'll find this interesting. My buddy Nick and I are actually creating a podcast called A History of Crypto. And each
Hmm.
episode, each week, we're going to be talking about very specific things in the history of crypto. And eventually, I'm going to do an episode on Ross. I think that
Yeah,
his story is pretty amazing. And I'm pretty sure you found it fascinating watching that documentary.
I did. I was intrigued the entire time. Yes.
Yeah. So our first one is premiering on Monday, and we're
Hmm.
going to be talking about the cypherpunks that uh,
Classic.
were basically there before Bitcoin was even founded. So um,
Hmm.
I think that their stories should be told far and wide very often,
It's a good.
because,
It's a good start. Yeah, I mean, it's the start, right?
yeah, we wouldn't
Arguably.
be where we are today without them.
Yeah, it's. I remember I learned about them a few months ago. It's another just hole. It's a whole rabbit hole, right? That you can
Yep.
fall into. But it kind of lands in the very beginning of where this whole blockchain thing started, and thankfully we have a long future ahead of us. So
Yeah, man.
I think it's going to be a great series, man.
I hope so, man. I really do. Well,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
man, we've been going for about an hour now. I really appreciate you coming on the show today and giving us some of your time, and then showing us what your project is about. Do you have anything else that you would like to talk about or shill for your project before we end this?
Um, you know, I implore people to have patience on multi-chain. We have to roll it out carefully and not just all at once, even though we could. Should be about 2 months for that. We'll be building for the next X years. We have a very long runway, and any product you see right now is only on Harmony, and it's in the most basic, worst form that you'll ever see it. So we have dedicated people, dedicated community. I implore people to come join us, follow us on Twitter, join our Discord. We have tons of events. Our community has been around since February 19th when we started. So almost exactly 7 months. And through this entire bear, they're still chatting, they're still talking, maybe a little less, but we stay active, we have fun, and we're all real people, not bots. So
I'll be sure
it's
to drop
come
your
join us,
links in
please.
the description below too, so that they have it
Yeah.
available.
And Clay, thank you for your time having me on. I hope you do more YouTube live things. I think it's an interesting platform. I think it has a lot of potential. And I'm excited to see the history of crypto series because I think I haven't really seen someone do that yet. And I think if it's done thoroughly and carefully, it's going to be really cool. So,
Yeah, thanks, man. And thanks again for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you, sir.
All right, I'm going to end the stream here.
Cheers. Peace.